Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button because today we're diving into a truly haunting case that still leaves us with more questions than answers. Now, I'm about to tell you a story that's full of mystery, tragedy, and a lot of unanswered questions. It's the case of the Sodder children, a case that, honestly, has baffled me ever since I first heard about it. I guarantee by the end of this video you'll be just as intrigued as I am. And I'm betting you won't be able to stop thinking about it for days. So grab a snack, sit back, and let's dive into this. It was Christmas Eve, 1945, in the small town of Fayetteville, West Virginia. The Sodder family, Father George, Mother Jenny, and their 10 children, were celebrating the holiday at their home. It was a cozy, normal evening, full of Christmas cheer. But what happened next would shock the entire nation and become one of the most perplexing disappearances in American history. Around 1 a.m., a fire broke out at the Sodder home. But here's where things take a strange turn. The fire, which could have been the result of faulty wiring or some other cause, ended up being the least unusual part of the story. When the fire was finally out and firefighters started digging through the charred remains of the house, there was no trace of 5 of the children who were supposed to be inside. But get this. There were no remains, not even bone fragments, which would have been impossible to destroy in such a fire. The missing children. This is where the case becomes truly bizarre. To understand why this was so unusual, let's talk about the science of fires. When a fire reaches a high enough temperature, like the one that presumably ravaged the Sodder home, human bones do not simply vanish. In fact, bones require temperatures of around 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit to be fully consumed by flames. And even then, the remains would typically be reduced to ash, fragments, or, at the very least, identifiable bone pieces. But when the firefighters combed through the wreckage, there was nothing. No ashes, no bones, not even a trace of the missing children. And let's not forget that the house itself, although heavily damaged, wasn't completely destroyed. The stone foundation was still intact. So if the children had been in the house, and the fire was as intense as authorities said, how could there be no remains? How could they have vanished without a single trace? It didn't add up. Fire investigation. Rushed and inconclusive. After the fire, the local fire department conducted an investigation. They concluded that the fire was an accident, possibly caused by faulty wiring or a malfunctioning appliance. But for the Sodders, this explanation never sat right with them. In fact, they were convinced that the fire had been deliberately set. They believed that the fire was a cover-up for something far more sinister: a kidnapping. One of the most important things to note here is how quickly the investigation seemed to wrap up. The fire department didn't seem to be taking the family's concerns seriously. The Sodders didn't buy the idea that the fire was purely accidental. George Sodder, the father, even went so far as to claim he saw a mysterious vehicle parked near their house shortly before the fire started. He suspected that someone had intentionally set the blaze to cover up a kidnapping. But was that theory too far-fetched? The oddities start piling up. And here's where things start to get even stranger. The morning after the fire, George noticed something else unsettling. The telephone lines leading to the house had been cut. Now, this wasn't some small detail. It was incredibly important. The Sodders had a phone, and if the fire had been a true accident, why would anyone cut the phone lines beforehand? And on top of that, the family's car had been tampered with. When George tried to start the car that morning, it didn't work. It had been deliberately disabled, preventing them from calling for help or fleeing the scene. This was no random accident. It seemed like a deliberate act. The escape of 4 children. But here's another part of the story that leaves more questions than answers. 4 of the children who were at home that night were able to escape. They woke up to smoke and flames and made it out through a window. However, the 5 missing children were allegedly asleep on the 2nd floor at the time the fire broke out. Now, this is one of the most puzzling aspects of the case. If the fire was as intense as the authorities claimed, why didn't the 5 children on the 2nd floor wake up? Why didn't they escape like the others? Why didn't they even have a chance to get out? And most chillingly, why weren't there any remains found? It's as if they vanished into thin air without a trace. A mysterious photograph. As the investigation went on, the family received some unsettling tips. People claimed to have seen the missing children alive. One of the most credible leads came from a woman who swore she had seen the children at a truck stop in Charleston, West Virginia, several days after the fire. She even provided a detailed description of the children, but despite efforts to follow this lead, it didn't go anywhere. But things didn't stop there. In 1947, 2 years after the fire, the Sodders received a mysterious photograph in the mail. The photograph showed a group of children in front of a store, and one of the children in the picture looked strikingly similar to Louis, one of the missing boys. The photo was sent anonymously, and no one ever came forward to claim responsibility. The family believed that the boy in the photo was indeed their son, but no new evidence was ever found to confirm this. So, was this a legitimate clue? Or just another dead end in a case filled with them? Theories and speculation. Now let's talk about the theories that people have tossed around over the years. The case of the missing Sodder children has been the subject of much speculation and debate, and there are a few possible explanations people have put forward. Theory 1. A deliberate kidnapping. One of the most popular theories is that the fire was deliberately set as a cover for a kidnapping. Some believe that someone with a personal vendetta against the Sodder family, or even someone with ties to the local mafia, might have been involved. George Sodder had been involved in a dispute with a local businessman, and some theorize that this could have been a revenge attack, orchestrated to punish the family. But no one has ever proven this connection. Theory 2. Local authorities failed. Another theory suggests that the local authorities were too incompetent or disinterested in fully investigating the case. It's possible that they didn't put enough resources into following up on the tips and clues that the family received. But why would they neglect such an important case? Was it laziness? Or was there something else at play? Theory 3. The children were taken by someone inside the family's circle. Some theorists believe that the children were taken by someone who knew the family, perhaps even someone involved in the fire itself. This could have been a case of personal revenge or a planned kidnapping, with the fire acting as a distraction. The unsolved mystery. So, what happened to the 5 missing children? Did they perish in the fire and somehow the remains were destroyed beyond recognition? Were they kidnapped, as the family believed? Or was there some other, darker explanation for what occurred that night? Unfortunately, we may never know the full truth. But what's clear is that the Sodder family didn't give up. They spent years following leads, putting up reward posters, and even hiring private investigators. The case remains one of the most infamous unsolved mysteries in American history. And to this day, the mystery of the Sodder children continues to haunt the small town of Fayetteville and the entire country. The enduring question. This case is such a chilling reminder that sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. There are so many unanswered questions about the disappearance of the Sodder children. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's any clear answer in sight. But that's what makes it all the more intriguing. The possibility, no matter how small, that one day the mystery could be solved. So, what do you guys think? Was it an accident, or was there something darker at play here? Could the children have survived? And if so, why did no one ever find them? What do you believe really happened that Christmas Eve in 1945? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and let's continue this conversation. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries, make sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. And remember, stay curious and I'll catch you in the next video.